I don't 100% have to prep anything today, which gives me time to finally take a look at Giffyglyph. So Giffyglyph has been recommended to me about, I don't know, 42,000 times. Yeah, in the past year or so. Most people know that I am a fan of tough boss monsters, and that I am also a big fan of 4th edition D&D. And apparently, Giffyglyph has managed to sort of bring some of that 4th edition magic back into 5th edition. I've never had time to just sit down and check this stuff out, so I thought I would stream checking it out. Only hanging out for about an hour, but we'll see what there is to do. The main function that I would probably use from it would be the monster maker, so I definitely want to, check that out. But essentially, they respect the classes in D&D. Levels 1 to 10, I believe, for each of the core classes. And they added like new features, new abilities to those core classes. Just basically sort of changed up the way the game is played to make it a little bit more interesting. Most D&D campaigns only play to... Hey, how's it going? Most D&D campaigns only play to like level 10 or so anyways, right? Most of them don't ever make it to 20. So they added like capstone abilities at level 10. And I don't know. There's just a lot of neat and cool ideas here. Like the Barbarian, for example. There's just little things that were done, like unarmored AC is your Constitution plus your Dex or your Int, which is kind of cool because like intelligence never gets any play, right? Never really. If you're not a wizard or an artificer, what are you doing wasting time with intelligence? I personally like intelligence being added to dexterity. Not dexterity, excuse me. Being added to initiative in place of dexterity as a house rule, but I don't currently use it in any of my games. But here they have something called Brutality, which is very similar to the Battlemaster Fighter. So they have an economy of points they could spend to initiate their brutalities. And these all just read just like 4th edition abilities. So smashing, roaring, kicking, grabbing, headbutting. And similar to the latest, not the latest, but the big class update for UA that came back in November of 2019, you can change these out as you're leveling up and as you are, playing through your character. So if you don't like the brutalities, you can always swap them out. It's pretty cool. Yeah, so I'm just looking at the Barbarian and I'm already seeing that there's some really cool stuff here. It is very fascinating because running a game 1 to 10, knowing that 10 is actually going to be much stronger, and knowing that the levels in between are going to be much stronger, I feel like they could make for a much more interesting campaign. Ghost of Saltmarsh runs to about 11, and I capped it out at 12. 12 does give you access to some pretty cool spells, but beyond that, it's not... that's only if you did a dedicated caster the whole way through. And I don't know. Yeah, I like the idea. It's something I definitely like to explore like a little bit more. Because I could see running a shorter campaign, or even just, a campaign like Storm King's Thunder, which ran 1 to 10. And using something like this because it would be kind of cool to have all that stuff that you're going to miss out on because you're not running a campaign to 20 just up front, which would be kind of cool. I don't know how this interacts with multi-classing. I'd have to probably really read through it and get a good idea. Oh, here you go. To keep playing beyond 10th level, you could multi-class and then go into other stuff. Okay. Nice. That's pretty cool. Yeah. Alright, so definitely something I want to look into, but maybe not in the stream. Then I had heard about their darker dungeons. Not going to read all this on stream, but 120 pages of crazy rules that you can add to the game. This includes random character generation, which I'm a huge fan of from Hackmaster. So basically, there's things about your character that are outside of your control, and you have to lean into those curveballs and, swing for the fences with them and really make it awesome. They've got rules for 0 level characters, so basically you literally start as a farmer. And then there's also, I don't know, lots of different stuff. Survival conditions would take something like Tomb of Annihilation and kick it up to the next level. Lingering wounds and injuries, kind of use that already with extreme crits and fumbles, but this actually provides some mechanics for how to explore that further and make it a bigger part of the game. Some campaigns feature like a madness or a horror mechanic. This is kind of expanded a little bit with the stress mechanic. Yeah, I don't know. There's just, again, like, D&D's been out for 6 years, and if you run a lot of D&D and you're getting tired of doing the same stuff over and over and over again, this site could be a really cool resource for you to check out and see what sort of spices you could kind of toss into your game to reinvigorate it a little bit. So, currently, I guess the project they're working on now is I don't know. I don't follow them on Patreon, but I don't know what the new project that they're working on is. But the main reason I'm here, like I said at the beginning, was I wanted to check out the Monster Maker. Now, yeah, like the Monster Maker is like I like to have tough boss monsters. The last tough boss that I ran was for Odyssey, and they fought the Stormmaw Hydra. So let me see where that Hydra ended up. I could probably just bring up its character sheet, but let's see. Coastal Hydra, here we go. Yeah, so this poor baby strewn all over the floor. And it certainly ended up being a suitable challenge for my party, because many of them were down. Nobody died. You don't want people to die every fight. That's kind of crazy. But people were messed up pretty bad. They were scared. The Hydra certainly had the action economy that if it had wanted to maliciously kill people, it could have. But as a stupid monster, it doesn't understand, healing magic, and that they're just going to keep popping their allies back up. So I had it move on to new targets every time it drops somebody, rather than coup de grace or anything like that. But some bad guys know about coup de grace and keeping healers down and removing people from the fight permanently, so that, affects difficulty as well. But in order to create this monster, which would be a challenge for my 5th level group, you would think like, oh, you just go to Kobold Fight Club and you pick out something with a CR that's going to be a challenge. But that really wasn't the case. In practice, every group is different. Some people are more skilled than others. Some people are more skilled at making characters than others. Some groups have a better composition. Some groups have more people in them. A group with a bunch of druids, that's going to be a hard group to kill. The artificial hit points from Wild Shape, the tremendous variety of spells that they have access to. Everybody could potentially have Healing Word, so they could just take turns popping each other back up. You very much have to tailor fights to your party if you want those fights to be quote-unquote balanced, because there's no magical balancing tool to balance anything, in my opinion, when it comes to D&D, because there's so many things that could be different mechanically, and also the human element of, is your group a bunch of amazing tacticians, Or are they a bunch of casuals that are going to panic and start making bad decisions? Or do they just kind of dial it in for combat because they're there for the lulls and the role-playing? So, let's open up this bad boy's character sheet and take a look at what we had. Yeah, this thing right here. Versus what sort of creature we could build if we're using Giffyglyphs, I guess. So let's see, did I even link the body here? I didn't. Alright. So let me grab that real quick. Alright, Storm Maw Hydra. It was a variation on Kobold Press's Venom Maw Hydra, so since it's Kobold Press, you know it's really not balanced anyways. And it clocked in at a CR 12, and now I did reduce some of its abilities to make it less powerful. But let's see what happens if we go to this here Monster Maker. So they have an app. The app allows you to track monster levels instead of CR. And basically, you sort of build like a Frankenstein monster based on what you need it to be and what you need it to do. So, yeah, let's go ahead and get started on that then. Alright, I'll try the app and see if it works. Okay. So we just have the stat block. It builds the stat block as you go, which is pretty cool. Alright, so description, call it the Storm Maw Hydra. Alright. My party's level 5, but I think I'm supposed to swap out the CR for the level? Question mark. So I guess we'll make it level 10 and see what that sort of gives us. Maybe not, because it's dealing 10d4 points of damage. So maybe the level is corresponding to the level of the party. Interesting. Alright. What kind of monster is this? These are all taken directly from 4th edition. So a controller is a monster that affects the battlefield. Defender is a tank, so it's a monster that penalizes you for not attacking you, or attacking it, and it has abilities related to mitigating damage on itself or its allies. A lurker is going to focus on sneaking around, like sneak attacks, ambushes, that kind of stuff. Scout looks new. It might just be their word for skirmisher, but I'm assuming it's one that can move and attack at the same time. Sniper is more than likely a replacement for the 4E term artillery, so basically somebody that attacks at range. Striker is the same as 4th edition, it's just a DPS unit. And then a supporter, they used to call those, I think, a leader. But basically the supporter is there to enhance the other units on the field. So a Hydra, what does a Hydra normally do? A Hydra deals an assload of damage, right? It's got a lot of attacks. So we'll leave that as a striker for now. Could we have made it something different? Possibly. Alright. And then let's see. What rank is it? It's going to be a solo monster. These are also taken directly from 4E, so minions die in 1 or 2 hits. Standard is a normal rank and file monster. Elite is sort of like a mini boss or like a goblin boss compared to a goblin sort of thing. A solo would be like your dragon or your beholder or something like that. Generally, you don't want to use solo monsters if you've got a big adventuring party, which is probably why when it toggled up to solo, it turned on these paragon actions. Paragon being a gentler term for legendary actions, because is there anything legendary about being 5th level? So they call them paragon actions instead. Alright, and here, this tool actually takes into account how big your party is, which is kind of cool. So if they have 6 characters, or 6 players, you can up that to 6, and then that will actually change the paragon actions. Now it's gone from 3 to 5, which, kind of makes sense. The phases, this is pretty cool, and I'm pretty sure they had phases before Mythic Odysseys of Theros released phase-based combat. Basically, like, how many forms does this boss have? We could do just one for now, but you could have as many phases as you want, and then that stat block is going to shift and change as you go through the battle, which is kind of cool. All right, so then we go to tags. This is where you can just add stuff to help you sort the monster. So this is a monster, and it's also a Hydra, and so on and so forth. Let's see. On the display, this is just changing what it's going to look like, which is pretty cool. Let's see. Columns, this is if you want a wider or singular, which is kind of cool. Also, this stuff is all selectable while it's in Giffyglyphs, so you can copy pasta if you need to into Roll20 or whatever you're doing. And then we can also throw an image in here, which is pretty cool. Let's see. We used a Pathfinder Hydra for this from Reign of Winter. There we go. So I'll just copy that image address and paste it in there. There we go. Nice. All right, let's see. Oh, that's pretty cool. You can also choose if it breaks up the thing or if it kind of goes above it. It's pretty neat. All right, so I'm going to turn the picture off for now so that we could focus on this stuff. All right, so it's recommending an armor of 14. If we go back and look at our Hydra was a 15, so that's pretty much on par without anything modifying it, and it was natural. For hit points, holy crap, they're giving it 450 hit points. That is a significant amount of hit points. That being said, our Hydra, the only reason that I left its hit points that low was as it took damage, it grew more heads. So the theme of this fight was definitely kill it as fast as you can, because every 25 points of damage it took, it was having a head die, and then 2 more heads were growing back. And I did not have a limit on that, so they could kill multiple heads in a round, and they could grow a lot of heads in between turns. So that's very interesting, though, that it would put the hit points at 450. And that's more than likely based on how many people are in our party, right? So if we increase the party size again, hit points would just dramatically increase, and they would go down. So very interesting stuff. All right. So down here with damage, if you're finding the damage that it's suggesting isn't enough, you can always just add a modifier to damage, because right here it's just suggesting damage dice, not so much additional strength, which is kind of interesting. All right, let's keep going. So here under skills, we have to sort of, go to the drop down, kind of pick out what they have, but it does give the option if it's proficient or an expert, and it does the calculations for you automatically, which is kind of nice. So if the Hydra is an expert in athletics, it suddenly has a +10. It's kind of neat. Going back to our original monster, the only things it has is perception and stealth, and I believe it had expertise on perception and stealth, so we'll go ahead and add those in. So instead of this, we'll give it perception, which puts it at a +7, and then we'll give it stealth, and we'll also make that, there we go. Interesting. Okay. So under vulnerabilities, this is where we could add that in. Resistances. And we just drop down menu for that. Let's see, this thing was resistant to fire and had immunity to lightning. Okay, so let's see, add immunity, lightning, and then resistance is fire. There we go. And then for these, you would just go through, grab all the ones that it's resistant to. It doesn't actually have any resistances. It relies on this multiple heads ability for that. I kind of feel like a creature with that many heads would be immune to a lot of things, but that is not generally how it turned out. Alright, let's see. Under senses, we have to put all this in manually. So 60-foot dark vision. And I guess we just put a 60 there. There we go. So I guess we had to put feet if we want to have feet. Alright, that works. And let's see what else we got. Alright. Languages, it's a monster, so it doesn't have any. Let's see. Traits. Striker, Savage, Assault. Okay, once per turn, add your level and extra damage to an attack. Okay, that's kind of cool. And Shifty, you can disengage as a bonus action. Okay, that's also really cool. Let's see. You can use some basic markdown to add bold and italics formatting, blah, blah, blah. Okay. And then they have a grocery list of traits that you could add, which is pretty cool. So when you were bloodied, you split into 2 smaller copies. That's pretty cool. Rampage, Reckless, Regeneration. You regain hit points at the start of your turn equal to your maximum hit points, divided by 10. This is stopped if you are hit by a specific damage type. Blah, 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 blah. Indomitable. That's a little tricky because Indomitable is already an ability. But you're immune to any effects that would alter your mind or will. Yeah, this is pretty cool. This is pretty cool. Dangerous body. Any enemy. So this would be like for a fire elemental or something like that. Corrosive body. Be like for slimes. Blood frenzy, which is always nice for the Sahuagins. Entangling aura, disruptive aura. Aggressive, like orcs. Adhesive, like a mimic. That's pretty cool. And then teamwork instead of pack tactics, which is kind of neat. I mean, it's the same ability, but... War magic. When you use your action to cast a spell, you can make 1 weapon attack as a bonus action. That's pretty cool. Shadow stealth, siege monster, relentless, like a half orc. Redirect, like a goblin boss. Reckless, like a barbarian. Rampage is pretty sweet. When you reduce a target to 0 with a melee attack on your turn, you can spend a bonus action with half your speed and attack a different target. That would be kind of nuts for a Hydra to have, actually. Because it was dropping people to 0 non-stop in that fight. Alright, that's pretty cool. Alright, so going to actions, the ones that they already have are slash and knockback as just examples, basically. But you can also add new ones in, which is pretty cool. And then move it up and down. It does look like you have to code it yourself, which is kind of a pain. But I guess you could just copy pasta the example and just reuse that. Let's see. So this creature has a bite. It's recommending a +9. Our monster had a +8, so it's pretty close. Our monster, though, only did a D6 +4 and a D4. This is suggesting 6d4. So if we take that into account, we could say that our monster had a weird action economy because of the bites, whereas this is only taking into account one action. It also doesn't have anything here for multi-attack. So I'm not sure if monsters shouldn't have multi-attack or what. May have to actually read the book. Alright, then we could give it reaction abilities. Same deal, you're just going to type in what it's supposed to have. Paragon actions. Let's see. What is the difference between a default and a custom? Oh, you could change the flavor. Okay. Alright, and then legendary actions are different. Okay. Let's see. A paragon action is much more limited than a legendary action. So with a paragon action, you can choose to move or perform one of your actions, which would explain why they don't have a multi-attack, because then they can divide those up as they see fit. Okay, that's pretty interesting. And then layer actions that you can actually set on an initiative count, which is pretty cool. And then add those in, and then any additional notes that you want. I like that. I like that a lot. I guess the issue that I'm having is our damage was 1d6 plus modifier plus 1d4 lightning. This one's coming in at 6d4, which is significant. I feel like 3 of these bites would be the equivalent of an attack round with our guy, maybe, right? Or no. 64 would be equivalent to 3 bites, right? Because a d6 plus some modifiers and another d4, you could say that that would be 3d4. Okay, so it would be 2 bites. So I feel like we could give it an action that is twin bite or something like that. So basically it can make up to 2 bite attacks. That would allow it to use its paragon actions to attack 10 times in a round if it wasn't moving around, which is actually kind of cool because then it can divide up those attacks across the entire combat, and then it wouldn't just be, oh, my turn, the monster's turn comes up and now it's going to spend a bajillion attacks on you on that one turn. That would definitely cut down on its chances of insta-killing somebody by dedicating too many attacks to him in one round. So that's actually pretty good design there with the paragon actions. I like that. Alright, so we're going to call this one, let's see, Twin Bite, or Rapid Bite, maybe? Alright, the Stormaw Hydra makes up to 2 bite attacks. But ours also had the ability to spit its stuff as well, so we may have to explore that in a second. Alright, so we're going to copy pasta this down here. We'll call this a range attack. There we go. And we'll call it spit lightning. Alright, can make up to 2 bite attacks, or can make a combination. There we go. There we go. Cool. Alright. I like that. I like that quite a bit. And I like how it has Rampage. I feel like Regeneration could be good, but at this point it's going to just keep getting its heads back and stuff. In order to gain that sort of Hydra-ness, we're going to have to go back and grab that. So let's see. And that would be... what would that be under? Abilities? Skills? Yeah, it must be under skills. No, wait. Traits. There we go. Alright, so this will be a custom trait. Custom trait is multiple heads. Okay. Stormmaw Hydra has 5 heads. When it has more than 1 head, the Stormmaw Hydra has an advantage on saving throws against being blinded, charmed, deafened, frightened, stunned, or knocked unconscious. Whenever the Hydra takes 25 or more damage in a single turn, one of its heads dies. If all of its heads die, the Hydra dies. At the end of its turn, it regrows 2 heads for each of the heads that have died since its last turn, unless it has taken acid damage since its last turn. The Hydra regains 10 hit points for each head regrown in this way, which covers the regeneration aspect of that. Alright, so now it's still dealing 68 slashing or 64 slashing damage with its attacks, which is pretty crazy. So let's see. Ooh. So how do you divide up the damage into 2 different types? Because it looks here like it's just going to be all one type of damage, which is fine, because we could have the Spit Lightning just do lightning damage. Then you don't have to track 2 different damage types. Kind of keep it simple. Wow, that's surprisingly simple. And then it's got a phase transition, which is part of being a solo monster. So at 66% and 33%, you can remove all ongoing effects and start a new phase transition event, which is pretty cool. Yeah. Unless that's showing up because I did something back here. Let's see. Description, phases. Nope, we're good there. Oh, we also need to make it a huge creature. And we'll make it a monstrosity. There we go. Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. Now I actually want to read the manual. Alright, let's see. In the action description? I don't know. Let's see. I think it gives out dice based on the level of the creature, which I was going to look it up, but we could always just try it by trial and error. Let's see. Actions. Yeah, here it says damage and D4. So I don't know if I manually put in like a 12, if that's going to break it, or what. Nope, it allows me to manually change it. So if I leave it blank, it will suggest the number itself. But if I go in and change it, it'll do like that. But it won't calculate the average damage anymore, which I guess is fine. It's a little weird. Interesting. Okay. What if I put a D6 instead of a D4? I don't know. Let's see. Oh, neat. By changing it to a D6, it changed how many dice it recommended using, and then also added some static damage to put it in the category that it felt like it should be at, which is kind of cool. So if I changed it to a D12, it would probably switch it to 2D12. Yep. Oh, that's pretty cool. So I wonder if there's a way to do double damage here. So if we have this as a D10, it'll probably go to 2D10 plus 3? No, 2D10 plus 4. Okay. Let's see. What if I copy pasta this and put it in twice? Will that break it? Not exactly. And then we'll call this a D4. Oh yeah, now it's back to giving me 64s for damage. Oh my god. So this monster is going to decimate you. Alright. So we could in this instance just put a D4 there. Nope. Then it breaks. What if I just put, if I got rid of the word damage here? Because I think this is calling on values. How do you get to calculate? Is that what the underscore does? Nope. Well, I mean, we know that it's 2 damage, but so I could just do that. Yeah, that kind of works. I do like the idea of it splitting up its stuff. That really appeals to me. So I like that quite a bit. Interesting how it decided to do the stats and everything. And there's really no way for us to go in and change those stats, from what I could tell. Ability scores, here we go. Oh, this is another thing from the 4th edition monster builder. Was you would tell it, what is this monster good at, what is this monster bad at, sort of thing. So obviously a Hydra would be good at strength and constitution, then dexterity, then wisdom, then intelligence, then charisma. And since it's a solo boss, it still has banana stats, like across the board, which is pretty cool. And if you wanted to give it some saving throws, you could. This OG creature has dex and constitution as saving throws. So if we want to honor that original creature, we could, but it doesn't recommend it. Okay. Let me see. Mode custom. Oh wow, it's gonna give it stats for everything. There's no way to not do it. So if you're gonna give it custom saving throws, it's gonna have this stuff here, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. That's pretty cool. All right, let's go down here and derp with this real quick. So we're thinking that if we remove the word damage and just put a number, we can hack it. Alright, let's see. So that would be 1, D4. Does it work? Nope. It does not. Fortunately, this program does support Control-Z, so that's pretty cool. Okay. I like this quite a bit. I like it quite a bit. Alright, did this creature have anything else? It did have a reaction. It never actually used it in the fight, because I dropped this ability because it was already kicking so much butt. I also had Poisoned Blood. I dropped that too, because it was kicking too much butt. Has legendary resistance, whereas this creature does not. But this creature also has an assload of hit points, which is a 4th edition holdout. And then it shakes off status effects at 66% and 33%. Which means that if you did get it stun locked or something else, you would have a period of time where you got to beat on it and feel like a champion, but then it would break free eventually. Yeah, so that's kind of cool. Alright. And I do like that it can kind of get all over the battlefield, which is neat. I guess for speed, just to keep it consistent, I should probably give it a swim speed. There we go. Yeah. Alright. That is not bad at all. I like this too. This is another sort of 4E thing where it just has DCs for its attacks. So it's got this knockback where it can knock things away from it. And then, you know, if it had a secondary ability like poison or something like that, you could do that. But it's already calculating your DCs for you, so you don't have to think about it too much. Very cool. Alright, so what if I like this creature? Oh, okay, I can save it. You have added you've added monster number 1 to your vault. Aw, I want it to have, like, a real name. Why is it named monster number 1? Okay. Alright. How does it save this? Is it use some cookies? Like, how's this going to be here next time I show up? I don't know. It's pretty cool, though, that you can go and access this. And then we could also turn on this lovely picture. Cool. And then we could also download a screenshot of the stat block, which is pretty cool. Aw, it didn't actually save the picture. This is what it, yeah. Oh well. Still pretty cool, though. So comparing the two monsters, I feel kind of good, because I feel like the monster that I built without the guidelines of this cool rule set was kind of where it needed to be. I feel like the regeneration mechanics and the head mechanics is going to make having this many hit points a problem for sure. But there is the caveat that if you do chop off all of the creature's heads in one round, you could potentially kill it that way. Maybe a Hydra's not the best example for this type of creature, but yeah, I think it's pretty cool. And as crazy as it sounds, a group of 6 people, if they're spec'd correctly, in a boss fight, they could deal 450 damage, no sweat. No sweat. The way D&D characters are nowadays, they could definitely do that. So, alright. Let's take a look at the monster manual, such as it is. What does the Open Grimoire do? Oh. Okay. Back on Patreon, check it out. all that jazz. Okay. I think the Grimoire just means it's a web version of the PDF, which is kind of cool. Alright, so once you have an idea for a monster, so start building a profile. Maybe you need a high-level Goblin King protected by an elite entourage, or a drunken giant with some tiefling friends looking to cause chaos. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. Dragonlord Warden is a defender, has indomitable, reliable attacker. When you miss with an attack, you spend a reaction to reroll your attack. You can't leave. There we go. This is the 4E goodness right here. Creatures always provoke opportunity attacks, even if they take the disengage action before leaving your reach. And when you hit a creature with an opportunity attack, that creature's speed becomes 0 for the rest of the turn. So basically, Sentinel. Pretty cool. Let's see. Minions, elites, and solos. So it's explaining how that works. Minions are weaker than other monsters. They have very few hit points. They fall quickly in combat. This does make me miss the 4E monster tool, where you could literally turn any monster into any other type of monster. So if you wanted to make a Leroy Jenkins-esque situation where there's a hatchery and there's a million baby red dragons, and you want all the baby red dragons to be shitty minions, you could take a red dragon wormling and then turn it into a minion, and it would automatically adjust all the stats on that existing monster, which is pretty cool. Which does make me wonder, if you're in the vault, is it possible to copy a monster and then make changes to it? That could be kind of cool. There we go, create a copy. Alright, so now we have Hydra number 2. And we're going to go into Hydra number 2 and decide that this is going to be the crappy babies for the big one. So what we would do is, where is it? It wouldn't have Paragon actions anymore, but that'll all get stripped away when we make it a, here we go, a minion. There we go. And now the damage drops significantly. The hit points drop from 400 something down to 15. Its attacks drop. Everything drops. Just like that. We took one stat block and we made it a smaller stat block. That's pretty cool. That's how the 4E monster editor worked all the time. And it was an online tool. And it was awesome. There was like a monthly subscription for it. But the monthly subscription gave you access to all the monsters in 4E. So every time they released a new monster manual, you had access to it. Similar to D&D Beyond, where you could search all the different monsters in the books that you have unlocked. It was like that, but but you could actually change and make new monsters, which was pretty cool. Yeah, this is really nice. Alright, so yeah, minions are junk. So that's cool. 4 regular monsters, or sorry, 4 minion monsters equals 1 regular monster. That checks out. Elites are slightly better than normal monsters. So here you can see the basic math behind it. Armor class goes up, hit points double, saving throws all increase, initiative goes up. They give them stealth and perception. That's pretty cool. And then you get Paragon actions, and I'm pretty sure this is equal to 1 per PC, which is pretty cool. And then solo monsters. Alright. Oh, no. Elites only get the 1 Paragon action. It's the solos who get 1 per player character. That's still super cool. Also, a Paragon boss that's a spellcaster. An action is casting a spell, so a Paragon spellcaster could cast a shitload of spells. Like, that's pretty intense. Like, they don't need to have some convoluted, like, I spend 2 legendary action points to cast a spell or whatever. They would just, I mean, an action is an action, right? So they could just keep casting spells until they ran out of spell slots. That's amazing. phased combat. Fights with a solo monster are a big event. They should be a worthy capstone for your adventure, full of drama and excitement. Solo monsters fight hard, changing as the battle progresses, and they start to take damage. When a solo monster takes enough damage, remove any ongoing effects and trigger a transition to a new phase of battle. That's pretty cool. A phase transition is, in essence, a brief scene where your monster does something to change itself for the environment. We've all played video games. We all know exactly what this is referencing here. During a transition, player characters are immune to any damage they may otherwise suffer as things change around them, but neither can they take any actions. These are moments of dramatic escalation, so be dramatic. During the phase transition, this is pretty cool. During a phase transition, any player character that is conscious and bloodied may recover some hit points by spending 1 hit die, a temporary respite while the monster is transforming. Some monsters transform during a battle, gaining new powers, changing how they fight, and even changing their form. You can represent transitions in multiple stat blocks, 1 for each phase. To create a transforming solo monster, first replace your solo's phase transition trait with the following phase transition transformation trait. When reduced to 0, remove all ongoing effects and start a new phase transition. Next, create a new stat block as per normal. So the GM wants the Skeleton Queen to have 3 forms during the final encounter. Bone avatars from her body, becomes a controller. And then she becomes a wild striker. Oh, that's so cool. Man, it's making me miss 4th edition. But this could be, this could fill that hole in my heart, that 4E left behind. Going Paragon. Paragon actions allow your monsters to act multiple times per round, helping them to even the odds and be a much bigger threat in combat, essential for elite and solo monsters who often find themselves outnumbered. That's true, because even if there's 10 dudes on the board, if you let them know that one of them's elite, people are going to dogpile that elite. Because people want to fight an elite, and they want to get rid of the elite as quick as possible. I don't know why, because with critical hit cards, even like the crappiest minion can still mess you up, but I don't know. Let's see. Elite monsters have 1 Paragon action per round, while solo monsters have 1 per player -1. Okay. This helps to balance the action economy and give your boss monsters a major boost of fighting power. Paragon action can... wait, yeah. The monster can perform a single action, such as... In addition, when a monster uses a Paragon action, it regains its reaction. Oh, that's huge. Every time it uses a Paragon action, it gets its reaction back. And can make wow. And can make saving throws against any ongoing damage or effect. Such as Hold Person, Raven, Enfeeblement, Fantastic Killer. That's pretty cool, because then you don't have to cheese legendary resistances or indomitables, because you could be like, well, you got it, and then it uses its Paragon action and tries to break free. That's pretty cool. Monster regains any spent Paragon actions at the start of its turn, so make the most of your actions each round to keep players in danger. Ongoing effects. Taking a Paragon action does not count as a full turn. If your monster would normally suffer an effect at the start or end of its turn, such as ongoing damage status effects, these do not trigger during a Paragon action. Action variety. It can be tempting to use Paragon actions to relentlessly attack the nearest character for a whole round, but this can lead to some very dull and predictable combat. Avoid repeating the same action too often. Try to keep the combat dynamic. Use your extra actions to move across the battlefield, push characters around, taunt, apply conditions, and put pressure on unsuspecting players. Huh. Alright. This supplement uses monster levels as a fast and easy way to gauge a monster's power. However, there's an alternative, challenge ratings. If you want to mix and match monster levels with challenge ratings in your encounters, or you just want to give your existing CR monsters a little boost, this chapter will help with conversions. I guess I should have probably read that. Let's see. If you have a CR, its monster level is simply take your monster CR value, look through the challenge rating to monster level table below until you find the matching level and rank. Okay, that's pretty cool. So Remoraz is a CR11 monster. It has a 17 armor class, blah, blah, blah. From the conversion table, we see that a Remoraz CR11 may be used in place of a monster level 11 solo. a monster level 16 elite, or a monster level 20 standard. Oh, okay. Monster level of a CR17 dragon turtle. Let's see. From the conversion table, we see that this monster may be used for a monster level 17 solo, monster level 22 elite, or 26 standard. It is too strong, however, to ever be used as a minion. Huh. Okay. That's pretty cool. Alright. You may find that your CR monsters don't pack enough punch, especially as elite or solo. When converting monsters, compare your CR monster's basic stats against the corresponding template. You may wish to adjust armor class to hit points, add paragon actions, add a trait, boost damage. The example being the dragon turtle. In this way, let's see. Quick minor adjustment to your existing monster. Paragon, okay. Phase transition, heavy defense. You may spend a bonus action to gain a +2 AC until the start of your next turn. I mean, who wouldn't want that? Bring its armor class up to a 27. Oh my god. I don't even know if Tiamat had a 27. Maybe I'm misremembering. I just feel like for 5e that's really high. But I don't know. I had 10th level characters that were fighting a were they 11? They might have been 11 at that point, but they were fighting a ancient black shadow dragon who had a 22 armor class, 23 armor class, and they were wrecking her when they actually were brave enough to attack her. Let's see. It's pretty cool. Alright, making attacks. Once you have a monster, it's time to unleash it on your players. Blah, blah, blah. Freeform attacks. Quick start monsters don't start with any specific attack. Instead, they use a freeform attack for speed, simplicity, and flexibility. Is the dragon slashing wildly with its huge claws? Then it's making a slashing attack. Is it leaning forward to make a bite? It's making a piercing attack. And is it hitting you with your tail? It's a bludgeoning attack. Is the dragon breathing fire at you? It's a fire attack. Wow. I really like that. Keep your attacks simple and straightforward. Try to avoid giving a monster more than 3 different methods of attacking, unless they are particularly notable, such as an elite leader or solo boss. Whenever possible, use iconic and flavorsome attacks. Once your monster starts dealing over 10 points of damage per round, consider splitting their single attack into a multi-attack. Ah, there we go. This helps prevent them from being overwhelmed. Here we go. The monster makes X attacks against its enemy, dealing damage /X per attack. Okay. So that's how we would set up a multi-attack. Let's see. The monster multi-attack table demonstrates how to create a multi-attack based on monster's damage per action. Okay. Our boy was at 15 damage per action, so he would get 2. So the damage per attack would be 5 to 15. Out of curiosity, let's look at our Stormmaw Hydra again that we made. And it's doing 15, 17 per hit. So it's a little bit outside of their prescribed range, just a little bit. Okay. Minions and multi-attacks. Minions don't get to make multi-attacks. They either hit hard with a single attack or they miss. Monsters have a lot of flexibility with freeform attacks, but try to keep things fun and fair for your players. Make sure to use attacks that make sense for your monster type. I really like that because then you could just say the dragon rolls over on top of you. It's a bludgeoning attack. The dragon tries to blast you with a small burst of fire instead of its actual breath weapon, and you take fire damage. That actually is really cool. Condition attacks. Attacks don't always have to deal direct damage to an enemy. Instead, your monster can attempt to inflict conditions. Pretty cool. This is a very 4E thing right here. Recovering from a condition. When you use a condition attack, try to consider how a player will recover from it. Taking an action to recover is always nice. Make a saving throw, or have to wait for it to end, which is, of course, the worst, having to wait for it to end. Pick the recovery type that makes most sense for your particular attack and be consistent with it. Multi-attacks. If your monster is multi-attack, you use one of those to do a condition instead. Okay. Avoid repetition. When using condition attacks, try to avoid doing the same thing each turn. As a general rule of thumb, leave a minimum of 1 turn between each use of a condition type. Worsening conditions, like a Basilisk or Gorgon's Glare. Pick 3 conditions and of increasing severity. So blinded, restrained, petrified, poisoned, paralyzed, unconscious. Nice. Okay. And what a nice succinct table here too. Of like, I don't think anybody has ever just summed Charmed up so succinctly in a combat way. You can't attack your Charmer. None of this like you're my best friend, or any of that kind of stuff. You just can't attack your Charmer. Makes sense to me. Deafened, frightened, can't move towards your terror. Yeah, these are really, really simplifying the conditions, and that's kind of nice. All right. Ongoing damage, another 4E mechanic. They loved ongoing damage in 4E. Sometimes the monster's attack lingers. Before you can make an ongoing damage attack, describe what your monster is trying to do. A mage tries to emoliate your robes with a searing magical enchantment. Orc slashes your leg with a hook blade, bleed damage. Kobold throws a bubbling vial of acid at you. Make a normal attack. If successful, the monster deals no direct damage, but instead inflicts ongoing damage. The damage is equal to the monster's normal attack roll. Recovering from ongoing damage, same deal. Take an action to wipe your eyes or whatever. Make a saving throw. Alright. How does that interface with multi-attack? If your monster has multi-attack, you can use one of the attacks. So, on that note, we could have the Hydra spit lightning at someone, and that lightning could cause a paralyze or a stun or something like that, depending on how severe we want it to be, which is pretty cool. The Hydra could use its tail instead of a bite, which, imagine that, a Hydra fight where it's not 1,000 bite attacks the whole fight. It could use its tail to constrict, which is causing a status effect and ongoing damage, which is also pretty cool. Area attacks. Some monsters' attacks affect everyone in a wide area. Explosive ammunition, frenzied whirlwinds, clouds of poison. These are area attacks. A monster can make these if they have the right tools or abilities. Before you make an area attack, first describe what your monster is trying to do and how they're doing it. Giant swings a huge axe. I miss giants being able to AoE. That would have been so cool for Storm King's Thunder. Anyways, Goblin fires an explosive arrow towards the middle of your adventure party. The dragon tries to burn you to cinders with an arc of scorching dragon breath. Once you've described what this attack looks like, decide on its point of origin. This is usually either the monster itself or the point where the attack lands. Next, choose the size of the area. Pick any template, decide its range, try to keep the size. It's all just 4E monster design. It's amazing. Okay, finally decide whether or not the attack will deal damage on a miss or to determine the final damage. So an attack will deal more damage if it has no damage on a miss, and it will deal less damage if it is consistent damage. Cool. Alright, so a 4th level Artificer with a Thunder Cannon that deals 8 damage every time it hits you. But they can also fire a line of lightning, and of course that will do half of the initial because it will still do damage on a miss. Very, very cool. I think people might miss the slot machine mechanic of does the monster regain its such and such attack on a 5 or a 6. But at the same time, that stuff is so hacks that you'll either have a dragon fight where your dragon gets 1 breath weapon and that's it for the whole fight, or you'll have a fight where it gets the breath weapon every single round. Now, admittedly, those are super memorable, both scenarios, but I don't know. It would be nice to have a little bit more control, I guess, over the flow of combat. Like, a dragon can't breathe its breath weapon 2 rounds in a row, because according to these rules, you can't do the same crazy shit 2 times in a row. So if it breathes its breath weapon, you've got at least 1 round where it's not going to breathe its breath weapon to kind of catch your breath, reposition, that kind of stuff. I kind of like that. Movement attacks. Yeah, so this is force movement based stuff. Could also be cool. Hydra grabs you, drags you in. Hydra hits you with its tail, knocks you away. That sort of thing. Let's see. Hydra kicks out at you with a swing of its huge leg. Well, it doesn't have legs in that particular instance. Avoid cheap shots. Although movement attacks are cool, and knocking people into lava is cool, take care when doing so. Avoid moving your players into obviously fatal situations if they don't have a reasonable means of escape. Resource attacks. These are attacks that cause resources to go away, like Imarith draining spell slots or hit dice, which are still in 5e not that great, but I'm sure if this Giffyglyph stuff is pulling off a 4e source material, there's going to be lots of ways that hit dice are utilized in those condensed classes. Let's see. The Master Thief pickpockets you, drains your gold. That's kind of cool. Spectral Wraith steals your hit dice. Void Sorcerer grabs a hold of your arm. Oh man, some good stuff. Alright. So here's breaking it up into other stuff. You can shoot 2 things, and that deals 50 damage on each attack. You deal 1 thing, does that. Explosive Jar, you throw a small jar of explosive gas, igniting everyone within a small area. Scorpid Sting causes an ongoing condition, paralyzed and then unconscious. These are so familiar, like I've seen them before. Using magic. Quick start monsters don't use the same Vancian magic system as characters. It requires too much time spent to set up. No shit. Instead of spell slots and predefined spells, quick start monsters use a simple freeform magic system. Well, that would be nice. Pick 1 narrow worded theme for your monster, such as fire, water, shadow, decay. Now your monster can make freeform attacks using that theme. So 3rd level tiefling sorcerer with fire, leading a host of goblins. Range attack, shoots a scorching jet of hot fire. Area of attack, fireball spell. Restrain, cage of fire. Create cover, small wall of fire. Force movement, blast of hot air. Burn stamina, make you sweat it out. And enchant allies, the fire of battle in their hearts. Any significant or long-lasting magical effect the monster might cast does require concentration. A monster can only maintain concentration on 1 such effect at a time. Monsters can end their concentration spells at will. Unlike player characters, monsters don't have to roll to maintain their concentration spells when they take damage. The spell automatically persists. Spells end naturally if the monster is killed or knocked unconscious. Wow. That's interesting. And a lot more fun. Okay. Healing magic. Monsters rarely have access to healing magic unless they are exceptional creatures with rare powers. Also, rule of thumb, if you don't want your combat to last 1,000 years, you don't want a bunch of healing monsters. Just, yeah. And if you do want a nice tactical battle, or they're fighting a bunch of angels or paladins or good guys, it is an interesting fight to have healers, because it forces the players to target the healers first if they want anything to go down. But yeah, I would definitely put that in the exceptional case situation. A basic heal restores 30% of the target's maximum hit points, because you don't have time to roll these extra dice. I like it. Magic themes. If you want to start a starting theme for your monster's magic, choose one from the table below. It's also like freeform and organic. Your monsters might face a party with counterspell. This is easy to accommodate. Any cantrip magic cast by your monsters is a spell level equal to half their monster level, rounded up. What if their monster level is 26? Is that a 13th level spell? I hope so. I hope so. Yeah. This is the guy that made Darker Dungeons. Yep. I think I'm just gonna quit all my current D&D campaigns and just start over with this guy's stuff, because I've only been looking at it for about an hour, and I never want to go back to regular Dungeons and Dragons ever again. Yeah, this is speaking to me, in my heart. My heart is speaking to me right now. Oh man. All right, so your monsters can also have their own counterspell. Hell yeah, they can. Sorcerers, Eldritch Horrors, Martial Spellbreakers, whatever their form, they got an option to disrupt your casting. Yeah. Oh, yeah, you're one of like the 4,000 or 42,000 people that have told me that I just need to start using this because I'm always complaining that I miss 4th edition. I have not. This is literally my first time exposing myself to Giffyglyphs. Everything else was just radiation from other people that were using it and telling me about it. But now I'm going to devour this stuff this week. I don't know. I'm taking September off to migrate to Foundry, and I was going to do like a big patch update essentially to my games. I may switch this over to a lot of this stuff. I don't know. I mean, it's hard when you have a paid game and you advertise the game being run a certain way. So obviously, I would need to have player consent for major change like that. But I don't know. My new Odyssey game for sure. I'd love to just kind of bring as much of this content into it as possible. Let's see. Alright, so use this sparingly. A standard monster should only be able to cast Counterspell once per encounter, if at all. That's fair. I gotta remember what it's like to be a player. Being a spellcasting player, if I kept getting Counterspelled, I would be pretty pissed. Yeah, see? Of course she does. Yeah. Maximum spell level a monster can counterspell without needing to make concentration ability check is equal to half their monster level rounded up to a maximum of 5th level. If your monster has multiple charges of counterspell, you can combine them. Okay, that's cool. You can gain +1 maximum spell for each charge of counterspell that you spend. Okay. Yeah, that'd be awesome. Thank you. Summoning. I like summoning. I don't like only having a 40% chance of success in most summoning instances. Kind of seems like a crapshoot. That's the thing. A lot of the stuff in 5e, right? It's so swingy. Because if the monster does manage to summon something, you're in a bad situation. But if the monster doesn't, it literally dies. Because it wasted its combat round trying to summon something. So a lot of times you don't bother summoning stuff, or you just narratively summon stuff. Wink, wink. You don't actually use like the monster stat block summoning because it's terrible. Huh. All right. To start adding summoners to your game, all you need is MP. Reflect the amount of summoning power your monster has. Each monster rank is worth a set amount of MP. Whenever you perform a summoning spell, just subtract some MP from your budget. Well, I love that. I love that very much. So 4 minions can... Wait. You can get 4 minions for 1 MP. That's amazing. Red Dragon lets out a mighty roar. 4 kobolds come running out of the side passage. And then she eats them and gets back health. To create a summoner, simply give them a budget of MP for the encounter. That's it. Your summoner can now summon any combination of monsters, so long as they have enough MP. Use this flexibility to surprise your players. Oh, players love being surprised. Don't they? They just love it. Alright, during combat, the Necromancer can spend these MP in any combination they wish. Sweet. Initiative. Summon monsters can act immediately after the end of their summoner's turn. Oh, wow. I'm gonna start crying here because I don't have to fucking roll them into initiative and hope that they get a chance to act before they're blown away. Let's see. Summon creature has, by default, the same monster level as its summoner. 9th level monster will summon 9th level creatures, but if you want to change the level of your summoned creatures, read Building an Encounter. Summoned creatures last for up to 1 hour, at which point the magic fueling them fades and they go away. Summoned creatures will also fade, evaporate, collapse if their summoner is killed, stunned, or otherwise knocked unconscious. Alright, so Monk is super valuable. Even though solo monsters are going to have all these opportunities to get rid of conditions, stunning a summoner will just kill all their summons. That's kind of cool. Summoning requires significant attention and can't be performed as part of a multi-attack action unless your monster is specially trained. Okay, that's fair. Alright, I dig it. Attack rarity. Not all attacks have the same power and utility. Freeform attacks. There are 3 rarities. Common attacks. Deal some damage, apply a status, blah, blah, blah. Okay, uncommon attack. Limited use. Okay, another 4E situation. So you just tell them this is how many charges you have of that ability. Let's see. Cooldown. A certain number of rounds have to pass. No dice rolling. You just keep track of... Oh, well, here we go. Recharge. There we go. Rare attacks. Rare attacks use one ability that takes significant time to recover. Okay, yeah. Soldier has an Omni Slash. Wink, wink. Got it. Okay. Attacks listed in the stat block aren't an exhausted list of everything your monster can do. Your monster can always try something new. Treat written attacks as suggestions. Keep improvising new attacks as necessary. I really like this. Overkill attacks. The biggest, scariest monster needs the biggest, scariest attacks. It does. This chapter introduces overkill attacks for your monsters and how to use them in your encounter. Alright. Overkill attack. Foul runes, blah, blah. Bad stuff happens. Going into overkill. An overkill attack is huge, devastating, and almost certainly fatal that a monster can unleash against the party. These are your biggest, most cinematic monster attacks, an ultimate technique that can destroy stuff. Overkill attacks are to take a full round to charge up, but when unleashed, hit anyone in range automatically and deal. This is some Monster Hunter shit right here. There are 6 steps. Pick a trigger. Choose an area. Calculate the damage. Telegraph the attack. So take an action to start the attack. Let your players know what the monster is doing and where it's dangerous to be. Oh my god, that's so fun. It's like avoiding telegraphed attacks in Monster Hunter. Charge up power. Your monster spends a full round and its full attention charging up the attack. The attack happens during the monster's next turn. That would explain why they give their solo monsters such an ass load of hit points. Because if it's going to spend a whole round just getting beat on, you want to make sure you have some hit points to get beat on with. Cinematic Spectacle. Let's see. The attack happens during a monster's next turn. Anyone still in range is hit automatically. Overkill attacks are a great way to add some cinematic spectacle to your battles. Use plenty of over-the-top descriptions to make your overkill attacks big, loud, and exciting. I love it. Ah, yes, the bloodied trigger. They do something to the environment. Monster just decides this is a good time to do it. And peril. They have a they have a condition put on them that they don't like. I dig it. Choose the area. Let's see. Specific character. Oh, that's rough. Oh, that means everybody needs to spend a round trying to save that character from the peril that it's in. Got it. The danger zone. Make sure your players, or at least most of them, get out of range, even if it means dashing. If your players can only move 30 feet with a movement, a 70-foot movement is kind of a dick move. Safe spots. You could build spots that are safe. such as behind pillars and stuff. Oh my gosh, I really like this. I like this a lot. Extreme overkill. If you want to make them really afraid, extreme overkills just reduce you to 0. Oh wait, no, sorry. If the attack reduces you to 0, you die automatically. There's no saving throws. Oh wow, that's incredible. Okay, do you telegraph that? Oh yeah, here you go. Clearly describe what will happen. You will automatically be taken out by this attack. Nice. Charge up power. Disrupting overkill. While a monster is charging its attack is vulnerable, players with some clever use of roleplay, powers, and effects might just have a chance to disrupt the overkill attack and cancel it outright. If your monster is stunned, again, monk, saving the day, incapacitated, or otherwise, I feel like more people would play monk if this shit was happening all the time. The action fizzles and there's no effect. That's just like a big Monster Hunter monster charging up an attack, and you just run up and you perfectly hit it in the face and fizzle out its attack. Oh man, that's so cool. When a monster starts to charge an over... Yeah, for sure. This is going to be great. This is going to be so much fun. And I ran 4E for the whole run, basically, of 4E, so most of this stuff is completely familiar to me already. A weak point. When a monster starts to charge an overkill attack, you might expose a weak point, a loose scale, blah, 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 blah. Do enough damage to this weak point, and you might be able to stop the overkill attack altogether, stunning the monster in the process. More Monster Hunter shit. Also, Kingdom Death shit, which is basically just Monster Hunter shit. If you want to bait players into staying... Ahaha! Nice. Very cool. I could also see this, of course, strengthening range characters even more than they already are, though. Let's add a weak point to your monster, decide what it looks like. Well, obviously, it looks like it's Cloaca, for sure. Then give it its own pool of hit points, and they have to deal a certain amount of damage to it to make that happen. Alright, I dig that. The weak point is reduced to 0. The monster immediately takes damage equal to its weak points, max hit points, and is stunned. This effect can't be circumvented by legendary resistances or with Paragon actions. A weak point can only be seen, and again, this is why their monsters have so many hit points. Makes sense. Because there are going to be times where people just run up and beat on them, which is kind of nice, because sometimes it feels good to just go up and beat on a monster, I guess. Let's see. Oh, I dig it. Alright. The last thing we're going to cover, and then I'm done for the day, is randomizing damage. Okay, so everything about this is pushing towards static damage, because that's a faster, easier way to run the game. I have heard this a million times from people, that static damage is where it's at. I don't feel like that's the case with Virtual Tabletop, because the computer is doing all the math for you, but I could see in an IRL game that static... I understand the benefit of static damage in an IRL game, because Minions in 4th edition dealt static damage, and it was very helpful. But for variety, yeah, I would much prefer to roll some dice. Accurate damage, predictable, volatile, wild damage. Oh my god, D20s for damage? Oh man, D-hundies for damage? That's insane. All right, so you could randomize your damage. Cool. Wild swings. Rolling big dice can be exciting, but may lead to some very swingy combat. Yes, every giant in 5e. That's right. All right. Well, no, because a lot of giants use greatswords. Greatswords deal 2d6. 2d6 is pretty damn stable. Let's see. I love it. All right. I guess the next time I go over this, I will check out building an encounter. I can't guarantee that I'll wait for a stream to do this. I'll probably just, yeah, I'll probably end up reading it all. But if I don't, and I have a day where I could do more of this, I will. But I'm very interested. I like it quite a bit. So, all right. I'm glad I finally set aside some time to listen to everybody's advice and check this out. So, all right. Well, thanks everybody for hanging out with me while I literally just read something. But I have to say that I have not tried it out. Yeah, I have not tried it out yet in 5e, but I have played a shitload of 4e, so I feel like I'm pretty familiar with how a lot of this stuff's going to work. Probably the best thing I could do is in September, maybe run a couple of one-shots that are based off of this Giffyglyph stuff. That might be a cool idea. Get a better sense for that. So...